Welcome to the DIY Writer Show with the mild-mannered, slightly heroic host, Jeff Bacon.
This is Jeff Bacon with the DIY Writer Podcast, and today we have Anita Stewart with us. Anita, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
That's awesome. So obviously we're here for a purpose. We're here for a reason, and that's to talk about books. And you have a shitload of them.
Yeah, I do.
You have a new release that just came out. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, that new release is kind of my indulgence on my love of Arthurian fantasy.
Okay.
And I wrote a couple of short stories like years ago. The first one came out in 2007, the second one came out in 2010. And it was basically Arthurian legend, only from the point of view of the women.
Okay.
And it's set in modern day, and I always wanted to continue the stories. So I decided to write a series, and there's the first book in the series, Past Legends.
Ooh, that's a great cover.
Yeah, I designed that. And
did you really?
Yeah.
Did you do the, you did all the work on it, or?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I do my own book covers. I've got just enough artistic talent to pull off a reasonable cover. So yeah, it's all stock photos. You know, it's all stock photos. It's not art. I'm not that good yet.
Oh, okay. You're not freehanding that then?
No. It's just it's all Photoshop.
Oh.
But yeah. But I do have some artistic talent as far as drawing and painting, but not good enough for book covers yet. So
yeah,
I don't quite have the patience on that yet, because it takes a lot.
Practice.
It takes a lot to do the art.
Yeah. I don't even try. I do stick people, and that's about it. And I don't think that's a real great cover.
No, mostly I do landscapes. I'm not that great with drawing people. Like faces, I'm okay with. I can manage to get people looking reasonably like people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mostly like landscapes and watercolor flowers.
My 20-year-old daughter's going to college for art, and she wants to be an art teacher. And she can she has an amazing amount of talent. She draws, just stuff all the time.
Yeah.
You think I could get her to do a book cover for me? You think I could get her to do anything? It's just not interesting, Dad. It's like, okay, well, fine. And she'll do like this dark art stuff that's just amazing. And it's like, oh, here's what I want from you for my book. No, I'm not doing that. Okay. I'll pay you $50. No, it's not. No, I don't think so. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll go ahead and hire it done. But so how long has that new series, that first book of that new series, been out?
It came out October 28th.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's brand spanking.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of.
Yeah, and it's the first of 5 books, 5 planned books. Books 2, 3, and 4, the first drafts are finished, and they'll be edited next year and coming out, hopefully. Book 5 has yet to be written. So.
Okay. So just before we started, we're talking about British swear words, and you said that they're just nasty. And I said, you're going to have to educate me on that. So tell me about British swear words. Not
all of them are nasty. I mean, you've got some of them that are the same, like the F word and stuff. But I mean, a lot of them have to do with, female parts and male parts and other things like that.
Oh.
So, you're calling people things.
You're calling people parts.
Yeah, in some cases. Yeah, I mean,
oh,
they're creative, let's say that.
Are they? Okay.
Yes, very.
And you've used that creativity in your books, according
well, I haven't gone quite into the really bad stuff, but I use the things like tosser and sod and trying to think. Oh, wanker.
Wanker, I've heard that. Tosser. What the hell's tosser?
That's kind of like a strong form of, jerk, asshole sort of thing.
Okay.
He was
You're
a real
such
tosser.
A tosser.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'll get away with that in the bar. It'd be like, I'm a what? An asshole. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Of course, if they don't say asshole, they say arsehole. So.
I like that word. I use that in my books.
Yeah, but
Get off your arse.
I'm familiar with that word because I'm from Nova Scotia. So you can say arsehole in Nova Scotia or arse, or you can say asshole. It doesn't matter. They're interchangeable.
They're interchangeable. All right. All right. I do find linguistics very interesting. That's why I ask.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people that are like, oh my God, they're cursing. Well, it's part of society. And it's part of the linguistic um, the linguistics is part of society, period. And it's built in. So if you're walking down the street and you hear something and it offends you, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry. But on the other hand, as authors, we kind of reflect what the linguistics are for the time period that we're writing.
Yeah.
Or we make up our own, I mean, whatever.
And my main character's been around for about 1,500 years.
Oh.
So, yeah, because the premise of the book is that all the Camelot people are witches and wizards, but if you're a witch and wizard and you go through this ritual, you become immortal.
Okay.
So they're still around today. So it's set in modern day England, more or less.
Okay.
But yeah, so I figured in 1,500 years she'd have learned how to swear.
Yeah.
And she has a short temper, and she's very grumpy. So I figured she'd do it a lot. And she also drinks a lot.
Okay.
She's got a bit of a drinking problem. The main character does, but she's immortal, so she doesn't have to worry about liver damage or hangovers. Or, the really bad hangovers. She gets a little hangovery, but sometimes if she drinks too much. But stuff like that. So I figure if you could drink and not have issues with drinking, you do it.
Right.
So she drinks, like, she makes her own mead.
Ooh, mead.
Yeah. Yes, that's her favorite.
Yeah.
But in a pinch, she will also drink whiskey, ale, gin, pretty much anything.
What's kind of funny is it sounds like you're listing everything in my little refrigerator in my writing room except for the gin. I don't have any gin in there right now, but I do have mead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tequila, whiskey, ale, Guinness, beer, Scotch ale. Yeah, I don't have a drinking problem though. It's never a problem. It's right over here. I just grab it and I just drink it. No problem at all.
Sounds like you get along with my main character. The only thing she doesn't drink a lot of is wine. That's Morgan. That's another character. Morgan Le Fay drinks wine. But
see, I'm beginning to think your main character is my spirit animal.
Yeah, she's I like writing her because she's a lot of fun. Because she'll say what she means, and if she doesn't like something, she'll tell you. And she complains a lot about doing things, but she'll do it anyway. Like if she has to help people, or she has to go and solve magic crisis, the latest magic crisis, she'll complain about it, but she'll still go and do it. So.
Oh, cool. I like, it makes it kind of fun to write somebody like that. Sometimes you live vicariously through your characters.
Yeah, well, I think she's got a little bit of me in her too, because she swears when she's angry, which I do, and she's a bit grumpy and curmudgeonly at times. So yeah, there's a little bit of me in the character. So.
Oh, okay. So if you start cursing on this podcast, I know that I've ticked you off.
Yeah, basically.
Oh boy. All right, note to self.
But usually it's the computer that I curse at. So.
Oh no, not the computer.
Yeah. Windows 10 usually, when Windows 10 starts acting up. So.
Oh, so every day.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like that.
Oh, the thing that ticks me off about Windows 10 is the daily updates that just seem to screw everything up.
Oh yeah.
Weekly,
it takes so long.
Mine are scheduled to run at night, and every now and then, my computer's rebooted and it seems to have just, it does what it does. Every now and then I forget to save. Lose a day's worth of writing. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, no, that's why I switched over to Google Docs to do my first drafts.
Really?
Yeah, because it's basically works like Word, saves everything automatically. You don't have to worry about it. So yeah.
Have you tried their dictation?
Yes, I have. And their dictation doesn't like swear words.
I know it doesn't. You know what's funny is that you can disable that feature on your phone, but you can't. I haven't found how you can do it on the actual docs. But if you have Google Docs on your phone, you can disable the masking of swear words. But on the app, I haven't been able to find where you do that as far as dictation goes. But
yeah, I haven't, because I use it through my Chromebook. So
okay.
yeah, I haven't found any setting to disable. I mean, it's not too bad. Their dictation, it doesn't like fantasy words, like fantasy names. It doesn't always get them right.
Yeah.
But pretty much any speaking program is going to do that.
Right.
And the swear words problem. But other than that, it's not too bad. I mean, and it does oddly capitalize words, which I've found weird.
But in general, it does a darn good job.
Yeah, it's not a bad program. I mean, I used to use Dragon Naturally Speaking, so I'm used to a slightly better program.
So do you think it's that much better?
Dragon Naturally Speaking, yeah, it was a little bit better because it actually learned as you went along, which the Google dictation really doesn't do. But it's not as bad. I mean, it's not that bad. It does it in a pinch, like when I'm. So I use it sometimes when I'm stuck, and I just want to just kind of get the stuff out of my head on a roll. So
yeah,
I do that, and then I go back and fix everything it got wrong. So
that's exactly how I started using it. I have decided that, like, when I have to drive someplace and it's a couple hour round trip drive or whatever, that I just dictate instead of losing writing time. I just dictate into my phone. And after talking to a few authors that do it, it's like, okay, I need to do that. So in order to get used to it, that's exactly what I do. Is when I get stuck as far as writing goes, I just switch over to Google Docs, whatever, and started dictating into that. And it does kind of unjar your mind. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's especially good when you're using it when you're doing dialogue sequences, I find, because with the dialogue sequences, I can just go ding, 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 right at the head.
Yeah.
And then I can fill in, when dialogue tags or actions and stuff later. So
yeah, no, I actually am starting to kind of halfway enjoy it. The only thing that happened to me was when you get kind of frozen and you're like, I'm not sure what to do next. I'll just kind of sit there and all of a sudden, start saying something. It's like, well, I wonder if this would happen or whatever. That I kind of forget I'm dictating. And all those notes end up being in my document, and that was just a problem that I had to stop.
Yeah, sometimes I switch it off so it doesn't accidentally type something if it hears, if I'm mumbling, and then I forget to switch it back on. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking into it, and I go, oh wait, I didn't switch it on.
What was really funny was I was in the middle of doing dictation, and my daughter came in to talk to me, and I didn't shut it off, and the microphone picked up what she was saying, and it was just dit, 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 dit. And what I thought was funny was in about 3 paragraphs worth of just talk that it picked up, it did pick up 143 likes. Like, like I was doing like I didn't realize she said like that much, but now it almost irritates me how much she said like.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much I said anyway.
Until
I did a couple of recordings for author advice, because I do some author advice segments on my YouTube.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how often I said that word until I did the recordings, and then I realized, like, okay, that's too much.
Oh, so you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I do. A tiny, tiny, tiny one.
Tiny one. Okay.
Yeah, because my book chats go up there. I've got a few author advice things, a couple of readings, and all my book trailers go on the YouTube channel.
Okay. And what's that channel name?
Just my name, A.F. Stewart.
A.F. Stewart. All right.
Yeah, that's what I write under, A.F. Stewart.
All right. So, but you do a podcast. You said you do a couple of shows a week.
Yeah, Between the Pages book chat, and that's Saturday and Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube.
Okay. And do you do it live on Facebook then, or?
Yes, I do it live. It's about 20 minutes. Author comes on. We chat about his book or her book, and yeah, have a good time usually.
Yeah, cool.
Unless there are technical difficulties.
Does that ever happen?
Oh yeah. Sometimes the internet connections sometimes do not cooperate, and yeah, we've had a few audio problems. Had camera go off, had the camera freeze. Yeah, and a couple of people had to pause temporarily to deal with emergencies.
Yeah.
You know, the live video is fun.
Yeah, that's why I don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't do it either, but I don't really have an editor, and I don't really edit videos well, so you know, live is easier.
No, that's cool. I actually like editing a little bit. I try not to edit the videos just because they're conversational. Even the podcast, I don't really, edit it too much unless there's something egregious in there or something that needs to be fixed up. But there is a couple of times where authors have come to me and said, "Can you just cut that out? Because I didn't mean to say that." It's like, okay, and so that's kind of nice. Versus live, it's just there. Mind your P's and Q's, children.
Oh, I never mind my P's and Q's, so that doesn't bother me.
You don't? You seem very polite.
Well, I'm Canadian, so.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. But no, but I mean, not really. I mean, I generally say when I want to say, what I mean. I don't.
What does a rude Canadian look like? I haven't seen one ever.
Or if you see a Canadian with an angry scowl and a hockey stick, then run.
Then run. Okay. That's when you've pushed it too far.
Generally, they're holding a beer, and it's like the fourth one of the day, so the fourth one of the hour.
Canadians are heavy drinkers, huh?
Well, we do like our beer. Let's put it that way.
Do you like your beer? Yeah. You ever watch Letterkenny?
No, I've seen the ads for it though. But yeah, it looks pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate.
I mean, it's a little parody, but yeah. I mean, it's like the Trailer Park Boys too. That's pretty accurate. Only a little exaggerated, but kind of
not
accurate
much.
Too. Yeah.
Accurate, but a little exaggerated. The Trailer Park Boys. That's hilarious. So you've got the podcast and you've got your 20-some books out there. You were talking a little bit about 2 books that you had unpublished. Can you get back into that a little bit?
Well, I published one. It was called the Incomplete Guide to Action Movies, because I'm a big action movie fan. I love them. Yeah. And I was talking with my friend and her kids at dinner. We were having dinner out, and he said I should publish a book about action movies. And I just kind of the idea kind of just noodled around in my head for a while. And so I decided, I published the Incomplete Guide to Action Movies. It was kind of like publish all the tropes and the stupid things that are in action movies. And that's basically what it was. It was like a listing of all the things, the stupid things that happen in action movies. I'm trying to remember what I put in the book now. Like the people who drop, when the bad guys get shot and they drop their guns, and the good guys, they don't pick them up. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like, why wouldn't you pick up extra weapons if you're being hunted by bad guys?
Because that one gun with the unlimited amount of ammunition in it is all you really need.
Apparently. But see, and then there's like, when the gun runs out of ammo, they throw it away. Mm-hmm. It's like, why? It's still a good bludgeoning weapon, people. Keep the gun.
You know,
You
maybe,
know,
maybe
even
they're-
you could run into more ammo along the way. So keep the gun. And it's like the fight scenes where it's one guy surrounded by 10 bad guys, and then they fight him one at a time.
Well, yeah, that's the way it happens in real life, right?
Yeah, it's like no. So I was making fun of all these things in the book, and using movies for examples and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of a fun book. But I had originally planned on making kind of a series. Like I had planned on doing the Incomplete Guide to Monster Extermination as book 2. Anyway, but
Okay.
it never really materialized because I never really had the time because I had all these other projects. So eventually I just decided to, just unpublish the book and let it be. So
Let it be.
yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, I know you're a big sci-fi fan too. Well,
Yeah.
horror and I could see you doing a sci-fi, incomplete sci-fi guide, incomplete action guide, incomplete horror guide. Horror, you could actually do a volume set of those.
Yeah.
I think.
But actually, I don't actually read and watch a lot of horror movies, which is weird because, I write horror, but I'm not a big horror fan because I'm a bit of a chicken when it comes to watching and reading scary stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And your writing is done how?
Well, a lot of my horror stuff is based more on mythology, dark fairy tales, folklore, stuff like that, which I am a fan of and I do know a lot about. So that's kind of where I draw the horror from, and serial killers and true crime, which I'm also a fan of. So
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm taking all the gory stuff and the bad stuff from the true crime that I read and the true crime I watch, mixing it in with all the folklore and making my horror books that way. But it's like I'm not ignorant of horror tropes or horror movies and stuff, because I keep because I'm a big movie fan in general, so I know what's going on and what the movies are about and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just don't watch a lot of them because they scare me. It's like I've seen some, like I like the ghost story type horror movies, things like Crimson Peak and The Sixth Sense and stuff like that. So I've watched some, but that's usually where my horror goes. It's more to the folklore stuff, because that's my book Visions and Nightmares, the 10 stories, and they're kind of horror fantasy.
Yeah. The Sixth Sense, I thought was a funny film. And the only reason I thought it was funny was because I would say about halfway through, I figured out that Bruce Willis was dead. And I was sitting there and he's dead. He's just a ghost. That's why no one else can see him. No one else is reacting to him. It's just, he's got to be dead.
Yeah, I kind of figured that out too. It took me about 2/3 of the movie, I think. But
yeah, and everybody in the room's like, he is not. I said, well, why wouldn't his wife talk to him? I said, honestly, and then my wife piped up and said, well, that happens all the time. It's like, oh yeah, okay, noted, but still, he's dead. Yeah.
But personally, I think one of the better ghost stories I've seen in recent years is The Others. Now that was a good one.
I haven't seen that one, actually.
Yeah, that was a nice kind of atmospheric, moody, gothic horror story. It was fun.
Yeah, it's on my list of things to do, but unfortunately, the stuff that actually makes me money gets ahead of binging on Netflix stuff.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, damn day job stuff. Anyway, so are you a full-time writer? Is that what you do?
Yeah, basically. I've got some fixed income investment stuff that I live off of. So basically, I'm semi-retired and writing full time.
Yeah, I'm semi-working, so got this whole COVID thing going on. So
yeah, I am thinking about doing a side business venture with book covers, though. So
really,
yeah,
you should show your book cover again. Yeah, I think you could do that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about making like a little discount pre-made website.
Yeah.
So, because I know a lot of people, they want, they have standalones or reader magnets, and their covers they're not bad. I don't want to say they're bad, but they could be better. So I
There's-
figured I might try and hit that niche market, and with discount covers that like don't cost hundreds of dollars, because people don't feel necessarily comfortable paying that much for like something that's going to be given away for free.
Yeah. That's why I think most of those are made on Canva.
Yeah.
And Canva, as good of a program as it is, if you're just going to use the art that's included with them, it's not great. It's kind of grainy and kind of weird at times, but I don't know. Then again, though, it's free. So what are you complaining about? Oh my God, I hate the cover. I'm not going to take a free book. Something
Yeah.
like that. But that sounds interesting. So how much would you charge for a cover? $20,
Well,
$30?
I haven't quite, but I was thinking somewhere along the lines between $30 and $45 Canadian. So it would actually be cheaper if you're in the US. So
Yeah, it'd be $15 here, right? Just kidding.
but no, you're probably close to it. I mean, the Canadian dollar sucks at the moment. It's like, yeah, it's when you're in Canada and you're trying to buy US stuff, it's like you gotta add in the exchange. It's like no, can't do it.
Can't do it. Yeah, I've always thought that was kind of weird because we think that we have a great economy sometimes, but we don't. And the exchange rate, it's just playing with money basically. But I always think that's kind of funny that the Canadian dollar is worth less than the American dollar. I don't know why. Evidently, we're not trading enough with you or something. I don't know. Whatever it is.
Yeah, the financial stuff is beyond me. So.
Yeah, kind of me too. That's why I just deal in Bitcoin. Just kidding. So what else you got going on?
Well, just right now I'm working on. Oh, I just the Fairy Tales Punked just came out. I have to give that a plug.
Give it a plug.
My editor won't speak to me anymore. Yeah, it's basically it's an anthology that I'm in that just came out, and it's steampunk, dieselpunk, cyberpunk stories.
Okay.
Only the fairy tale retellings.
What is diesel punk?
Okay, well, if you know what steampunk is, which is basically Victorian era sci-fi using steam, dieselpunk is sort of Edwardian World War I, World War II with gasoline powered things instead of steam powered things. And yeah, so there are a bunch of fairy tales steampunk. I rewrote Rapunzel as a clock punk, which is pre-steampunk. It's sort of like Renaissance era.
Clock punk.
That's what they call it.
I know. I just lose track of my punks. They're all punks to me.
Yeah, a clock punk is wind up, steampunk is steam, diesel punk is gas, cyberpunk is futuristic sci-fi. So
yeah. What about futuristic steampunk?
Actually, you can get futuristic steampunk. They've written futuristic steampunk where it's on other planets, only it's Victorian steampunk on another planet. So
yeah.
Yeah, there are so many variations of steampunk that I can't keep track of them anymore. And there's gothic punk and gas lamp fantasy and
gas lamp makes me laugh. I like that.
I mean, I think I write that, but I'm not sure because I mean, I write a lot of Victorian era horror fantasy stuff, so it's probably some of it's gas lamp fantasy. So
yeah. How many short stories have you written? I mean, I was trying to get a grasp on that because I know you write a ton. I mean, you just
well, I wrote I've written several collections of my own stuff, like Visions and Nightmares is short stories, and the 2 Killer and Demons books are short stories. And then I've got the 3 anthologies I did with Schuyler Publishing. And then there's the Christmas Lights books, and 10 is coming out this year, and I've been in since number 3. So, they're fun to write, the Christmas Lights books, because basically a lot of those are more humorous, so they're fun. Like last year's that I wrote the Reindeer Solution, which was basically a war in the North Pole between the elves and the reindeer.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a kind of there's the Thunder Penguin.
Thunder Penguin. Okay.
Thunder Penguin. Thunder Penguin is a cartoon / stuffed toy in the story, but it's sort of an obsession of one of the elves, and it plays a part in the whole war thing. And then there was
in a threatening
story
way, or
then there was the story that I wrote. Basically, it's the Victorian age storekeeper and 3 ghost elves have to go save the Yule tree.
Oh.
And the storekeeper turns out to be somebody famous, but I can't tell you who because it spoils the story.
Spoils the story. Okay. All right. So you've got a Yule tree and you've got Christmas all in one story. So it's kind of a cross Christian pagan type thing going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I started to play with the different Christmassy seasons because I mean the Christmas light sort of lets you stretch the Christmas theme a little bit. You can do solstice, you can do Yule or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, and I did one with the Snow Queen was the villain. So I kind of did a sequel to the Snow Queen fairy tale. And what other ones? Oh yeah, the Winter Solstice Murder, which was a fantasy murder mystery.
Ooh.
Yeah.
On the winter solstice. All right.
Yeah, the Oak King gets murdered, and Oscar, the private investigator fairy, has to be called in to solve the case.
A private investigator fairy.
Yeah.
Awesome. I hate fairies. Anyway, just kidding. You know what I really hate? Nutcrackers.
I have never done a nutcracker.
Yep.
I have killed the elf on the shelf.
Yeah, have
a
you?
Couple of times. Yeah.
Literally in real life, or just on a
just in the pages.
Just in a book? Okay.
Yeah, I killed him once in a flash fiction, little micro fiction story, and the entire Elf on the Shelf brigade gets wiped out in the Reindeer Solution.
I have a short story that I want to write. I just haven't done it yet. And sticking in one of the Christmas anthologies, but it's too late to do it, so I'll probably do it next year. But I really have a fascination with killing off a whole bunch of nutcrackers. I just think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because part of our Christmas decor is we have a nutcracker collection, but I've always viewed them as evil. Kind of like Christmas version of Chucky.
Mm.
They just, the big mouth scares me. That and clowns. I don't know.
No, I never had a problem with clowns. I don't get the whole why people are scared of clowns. I mean, I get the evil clown bit, and I like to play with the evil clown idea because that's fun. But I don't get the being afraid of regular clowns. I don't. But
really,
yeah,
can't smell funny. They just kind of when they look at you, it's supposed to be funny, but it's not. I don't know. I think it's perfectly normal to not like clowns.
Yeah, well, I suppose, but I mean, I like weird things, so maybe that's why I don't have a problem with clowns.
Oh, yeah, they're just unnatural beings. I truly think they're from outer space. I mean, it's not somebody dressing up; it's actually clowns from outer space.
Yeah, well,
somebody should make a movie like that.
Yeah, they did make a movie like that.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, I do believe there's a movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
From outer space, yeah. Huh.
Yes, it's a very bad B movie, if I recall, but I do believe it's a movie called.
Yeah, but it'll scare the shit out of an 8-year-old. I can tell you that.
But
Maybe it did. Who knows? I'll never tell.
I don't think I've ever actually seen that one.
Oh, it's horrible. It's just horrible. It is. It is.
Maybe that's the reason why everybody likes does this. There's so many people that dislike clowns. They've actually seen that movie and as a child, and it scarred them.
Oh, you know, they collect people and put them in these bags, and they, hit them with a straw like a Capri Sun and just suck them, suck their guts out. And it's just, oh wow, okay, that's what they're eating, basically. And the clowns have a big top spaceship that comes down and simulates a circus, and that's how they draw people in. And it's just horrible. I really don't have a problem with clowns. I just hate that movie so much that I've watched it like 3 or 4 times. But it's kind of like Sharknado.
Oh, yeah. No, I've never watched those movies. Never will.
What?
I have. It's like no. I mean, I like bad action movies. I do. I've watched a lot of them. I just no. I draw the line at Sharknado, though. I do.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Sharknado is one of the beacons of society. It tells the rest of us that you can really write a horrible book and it might take off.
This is true. I mean, I don't begrudge them the success. I just won't watch it.
I mean, what's there, like 3 or 4 of those movies out?
Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, I think there's at least 3, probably 4. I stopped paying attention. So.
And I tell you what, of all of American culture, Sharknado is one of those things that is a must if you want to really know what it feels like to be an American. You got to watch that, and Killer Clowns. I'm telling you. But if you want to be Canadian, go ahead and don't watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Flatlining.
We have our share of bad movies, so I'm
really
not going to judge. But
what's a really bad Canadian movie?
Well, I don't want to say pretty much anything that's made in Canada. Because that's not true. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's not true. We do have some good movies made in Canada, but there have been a lot of bad American movies actually come to Canada to get made too. So yeah. But I mean, I was watching the Tremors, speaking of bad action movies, because I've finally watched the last 2 Tremors movies. Well, not the last 2, because I haven't seen number 7. This was 5 and 6 I was watching.
Yeah.
And number 6 was set in the Arctic. And they flashed the name of the Canadian territory on the screen. And they spelled it wrong. I mean, the Canadian territory they're supposed to be in is Nunavut. And it's N-U-N. And don't ask me to spell the rest of it because I can't. But they spelled it N-A-N.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that kind of happens in a lot of American movies. They don't get the Canadian bits right at all.
Canadian?
Yeah, because I mean, it's like if you've ever watched that Friends episode where Ross falls asleep on the train and ends up in Canada.
I haven't seen that one actually.
But in that episode, he says something to the effect like he has to take a ferry from, I'm not sure if it was Ontario or Quebec he ended up. He has to take a ferry from Quebec or whatever to Nova Scotia.
Okay.
You cannot take a ferry from Quebec to Nova Scotia. You can take a ship from
just a
Quebec
regular
or Ontario
ferry
up the St. Lawrence River and out into the ocean to Nova Scotia, or you can take a train across the country, but you cannot take a ferry.
Not a ferry. All right.
No.
Wouldn't work.
There's little things like that in a lot of movies. I find that they're amusing. It's like spot the Americans who don't know anything about Canada who write the scripts. Yeah,
that's most of us, but most of us don't know anything about America either. I don't know if you noticed that or not. Anything, usually when they have, something like with the Grand Canyon in there, you'll see that their positioning of wherever they're at versus, the towns that are next to them, if they're trying to be halfway realistic, is usually wrong, or the Badlands or, the Black Hills in South Dakota, they screw that up all the time.
Yeah, it's like history films too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, don't learn history from Hollywood films.
No, because they just, and they don't care. As long as it's
No.
entertaining, they don't care. And, those little blips, people just kind of read over it or just kind of, skip over it. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I get the point, but I don't know. It's all right. It's all right. My daughter actually calls Canada Canada because it just makes sense, because you can't be Canadian if you're from Canada, so it has to be Canada. No, nothing. Come on, Anita, work with me. Just kidding.
Well, hey, whatever.
Whatever.
I mean, we
You Canadians are so nice.
Yeah, but people in Canada sit up in Canada and yeah, we nod to Americans and then we laugh behind your back. So,
well, that's okay. That's okay. We're used to that.
It's just another American. That's okay.
I think
we understand.
Oh, here comes the shit talk. All right, come on, bring it on. Just kidding.
That is basically, it's just, we just nod and say, yeah, just an American.
Just an American.
Yeah, we get it.
Oh, you're a kick. You are a kick. We did a podcast together, probably had to be at least 6 months ago, if not a year ago.
I think you were one of the ones in April or May.
Could have been. I don't, 2020 is one of those weird years where it seems like a decade.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I did so many in April because I was doing extra ones in April.
Yeah.
Because everybody was, including me, were kind of freaking out and we just didn't know what to do.
Didn't know what to do, so you just did some extras.
Yeah, it's just we were trying to fill up time so we didn't have to think about things. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, at the end of April, I had an existential crisis and I binge watched Murder Maps on Netflix. So.
Oh, what'd you think of that?
Oh, love that show. Oh yeah, that was a great show. Like I said, I love true crime shows, and that was a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned lots.
Netflix has some pretty cool crime stuff. I mean, the historical stuff on the serial killers, I think are really funny. Or not funny, but good.
Yeah. That's my favorite. And I just read this really great book, Ripped from the Headlines, where they take true crime stories that have been made into movies.
Yeah.
And they tell you about the crime and then they tell you about the movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a really good book. I haven't quite finished it because I need to read the last two segments I haven't read in the daylight because I was reading most of it at night, but they're the cannibal movies.
Yeah, Hannibal.
Well, no, not Hannibal. I think it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, maybe, and the eyes have hills. The hills have eyes.
Yeah.
Or something. It was movies like that. Anyway, so I have to read those two segments in the daylight. So I've got 2 more. Yeah.
The Hills Have Eyes. Those are so stupid. I hated those.
Yeah, but it's not the movie that I'm worried about. It's the actual crime they were based on.
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck were they based on?
Right. Sometimes reality is stranger than fiction.
Yeah. Oh, so I mean, some of these people, they're just the real life crimes are terrible.
Yeah. It's I had Brian Gee on, who is he's a Brit or he's from England, and he was a forensic technician, or and he spent 25 years of his life in there, and we're kind of talking about that. And his 2 comments were, one of them was, America has an awful lot of serial killers, like more than anybody. He said, "What are you guys doing over there?" Don't know. And then we, kind of talked about a little bit about Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know if you remember him or not. And,
Yeah.
I was making fun of the neighbor who said, no, he was a really nice guy. Yeah. You want to come over for dinner? No.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, these serial killers, people think, in hindsight, oh, they must have been these horrible people. How could they not know? But most of them are quite nice, quite personable, and that's how they got all their victims.
Yeah.
Because nobody suspected that they were evil people.
Nope. Well, the nice thing, not the nice thing, but the one thing you can say about Jeffrey Dahmer is he had a real hunger for life.
Yeah.
Sorry,
and a lot
that was
of
a really
other things
bad,
as well, too.
Yeah, well, that was really bad. All right. I'm done with the corny jokes now. No, I'm not. Just kidding. So, what books do you have coming out? I know you said you're doing Nano.
Yeah, well, I finished the first drafts on the last of the first 4 Camelot Immortals books, and they'll be edited next year, and probably at least 1 or 2 of them will be out next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also working on a short story for the second Fairy Tales Punked book. So hopefully that will be out next year.
Okay.
And the Christmas Lights 10 will be out this month sometime. Don't know yet exactly when, but it will be out in time for Christmas. And that's a charity anthology. All proceeds go to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Oh, so, that's actually awesome.
Yeah, and all the Christmas Lights books, all the proceeds go to that charity. So if you buy any of them, they'll proceeds get donated to that. So
sure.
Yeah, that's run by Amy Huntley, and so the latest one will be out in December.
Very
sometime.
Cool.
They're usually a bit down to the wire because it's all volunteer work with those books. So
yep.
And we got a little bit of a late start this year because everything was so
crazy.
Weird. Yeah. Last year we all decided, we're going to get an early start this year, get everything in by July, and then it all just blew up.
So, I mean, it sounds like you've been fairly productive during the quarantine and everything else. I mean, so that really hasn't affected you as far as your writing goes, or?
No, I mean, I don't get out much. I'm not a very social animal to begin with, so staying home wasn't difficult. And it's like, stay away from me, world. I don't want to see you this year anyway, kind of thing. But but basically I've been to the grocery store, the car, and for car repairs, and that's about it this year. Everything else has been online.
Which isn't bad. I mean, I'm sure Amazon's enjoying that.
Yes, probably. but we're not speaking of Amazon at the moment, considering the whole Audible thing.
Oh, for crying out loud. And actually you have a blog out there that kind of explains it, and it probably explains it better than I do. So if you want to go into that, that's fine. I don't.
Well, basically Audible decided to promote its returns program as an exchange program. And a lot of authors, I have not seen returns, mostly because I suck at audiobook marketing. So I haven't really seen sales, let alone returns. But a lot of authors suddenly saw negative values on their sales dashboard.
Yep.
Due to these excessive returns, and they started asking ACX, which is the creation section of Audible, for their sales data to know what was going on. Audible, ACX is still not given sales data to any of these authors at all.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps saying it will, but it hasn't. And it was actively promoting these customers to return books, but it wasn't phrasing it as a return, it was phrasing it as an exchange. And it sounded, because a lot of these authors are our customers, so they have access to these emails that they were sending out. It sounded an awful lot like the KU program, the way they were sending these emails out.
Right.
So basically, and they weren't paying royalties on any of these books. In fact, they were clawing them back from people from months earlier, because this exchange program is good for a year.
Yeah.
I mean, they have since backtracked on that and say they will pay royalties after a week, like if anything is returned after a week, which is good. But then ACX has now come out and done some nasty things about threatening to shut down authors' accounts because they've said there's fraudulent activity.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what's going on there, whether or not this is an intimidation tactic or it's just something else going on, but yeah, it's a bit suspicious in my opinion. But
I gotta be honest with you, they can go pound sand.
Yeah.
As far as everything that I've read, they want to be this way. They're gonna lose a big chunk of books, and if that's what they want to do, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to hurt Audible. It may hurt ACX if enough indie authors, because like myself, I've decided to get out of my exclusive contract and going non-exclusive and put my book up on Find Away Voices when it happens. I mean, I think about 20 days. They said that they'll do it, and then I'm free of the exclusive contract. And then if any authors do want to get out of their exclusive contracts and they are non-royalty share, like if you are a royalty share, you cannot get out of your exclusive contract. You're more or less stuck. But if you are non-royalty share and you want to get out of your exclusive contract and you have been on Audible for a year, you can just email them, and there's a stipulation in the contract that they have to do it. So I'm just putting that out there if anybody wants to get out of their contract. But
I've done that actually, and I got blowback from them that they're going to have to talk to their legal department. And I paid for everything up front. I don't have any royalty shares, nothing. It's been out there for 3 years. I wanted it off, and I wanted to change it out in the first place. And I had problems doing that. Finally, I said, screw it. I don't want it up there anymore. And I've been fighting with them for about 2 months.
Really? As I had no problem. I emailed them. I told them straight up, because of what Audible did. I went on the exclusive contract.
Yeah.
Well, and they emailed me back, said they're going to do it. So
yeah, maybe I just leave the book up there and switch contracts. But for the most part, I think it's despicable, and I just, they're making money off the backs of small authors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it ends up being.
Yeah.
They're screwing over the little guy for no other reason than, oh, we can.
Yeah.
And
so when my book comes out of exclusive contract, I'm going to take it and put it up on Find Away Voices, and I'm going to start promoting it through Chirp, more or less, than Audible. And right now I've actually got something up on my website asking readers, if you're going to buy the book, buy it on Apple and not Audible.
Yep.
Because I mean, it's not fair to the authors. I mean, really, I don't understand what their thinking was. It was weird.
There was no thinking. I'm guessing some middle manager had a really great idea and he implemented it, and everybody else is trying to cover butt so they save face for ACX. And I think they've done a horrible job of it. And I'm, fine, business is business, and I get that. But on the other hand, I don't know. I'm not all that happy with ACX to start off with. And, when Amazon bought them, I think things changed, is what I think. But Find Away Voices, tell me about that. What's that process look like?
Well, Find Away Voices, if you go through it directly, it does have a setup fee of $50, which is why I didn't initially use it to begin with. But if you are in Draft to Digital, or Smashwords, I believe Smashwords has the same deal, you can waive the setup fee and you can go through Draft to Digital straight into Find Away Voices. And basically it's similar to ACX. You find your narrator, you get the producer, get a producer, whatever. And they don't have the no money down royalty share option, but they do have a 50% royalty share option. You pay 50% up front and then do the royalty share with the narrator or producer or whatever.
Yeah.
So it does cut the cost a little bit and I kind of like that better. I mean, I know that, the ACX is better if you're really on a budget, but I kind of like the 50% thing better because, I mean, at least the narrator gets some money for their work.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's why I originally went with ACX because I wanted to try the share, the royalty thing, because I was on a bit of a budget. But I did a few auditions. They weren't great. And the more I was thinking about, I'm going, if the book doesn't do well, the narrator gets screwed along with me. And I'm used to getting screwed. I mean, I'm used to taking the loss or whatever if
Right.
I have to. I mean, I know what I'm getting into when I do it. But I was kind of feeling not so great about doing it to a narrator. So I decided, well, I'm going to maybe just step back a little bit, raise the money and just pay it up front or whatever. But then author friend of mine, Alison Grauer, who did the narration, which is kind of odd because the book is got a male protagonist and I was originally wanted a British male.
Mm-hmm.
But she was getting into audiobook narration and she had done a book for another author friend. And so I was thinking, well, yeah, man, I'll just contact her and, see what she's charging and whatnot. And she gave me a bit of a discount because she was starting out and she was doing that for authors on a budget. So it wasn't too bad, even with the exchange. The exchange was a little better back then, too. So I think, oh, well, why not? She can do a good British accent. Even for an American, she did a good British accent.
Ooh, that's special.
Yeah. And she actually did a very good job of it, too. I mean, the character of Blackthorn isn't quite what I envisioned, but it wasn't her fault because it turns out that in the book, both Blackthorn and Captain Morrow, who's the main character, talk very similar, right? But in an audiobook narration, this is one of the things I learned that you have to adapt when you're doing audiobooks. In audiobook narration, the similarity was too similar. You couldn't really tell the characters apart. So she adjusted the voice to more of a Welsh accent, which kind of worked because the character of Blackthorn is based on Ewan Griffith, in Horatio Hornblower miniseries. Yep. So he's not exactly like what I had in my head for the character, but it was a good narration and I like the finished product. But you got to make compromises like that when you're doing audiobooks sometimes. So that's something I learned. I also learned that it's very, very, very boring to review audiobook files. But yeah.
Yes.
But it has to be done.
Agreed. On everything.
But I will say she did an excellent job. And I've gotten comments about how good a job and how surprised they were that a woman actually did pull the job off for that book.
Really?
Yeah, it's not what you'd expect for that book. If you've read Ghosts of the Sea Moon, it is very male oriented.
Okay.
Sailor book, right?
Right. Okay.
So having a woman do the narration is not, I mean, I'm not being sexist here, but it's not what you would have maybe naturally assume or expect for that book. But she did an excellent job and she really, really pulled it off.
Huh. Well, that's excellent. So does she still do audiobook narrations or?
I don't know. Unfortunately, my finances did not help get books 2 and 3 into audiobooks yet. So I don't know if she's actually doing it anymore, but I hope she is.
That's the problem with audiobooks is that there is a huge entry fee.
Yeah.
I mean, if the book doesn't take off and sell, it may take 7 years to actually make any kind of a dent in in that cost if you're going to front all the money yourself.
But I mean, it's approximately took about the same amount as what you would pay an editor for normal books. So I mean, you didn't pay. So that's like 2 editings on one book.
That's not a bad price. I know, like if you're talking about Freeaway, I mean, if you're going to pay for it all up front, it's what, $1,600 for a 50,000 word document, I think, or something like that, or 1,500, whatever it is, for the narration and the production.
Yeah, well, that's the one good thing about because I have the files now. So when I upload this book to Findaway Voices, it's not going to cost me anything extra. So
right.
But yeah.
Where does Findaway, who do they publish to? Everybody?
Pretty much. You can actually publish to Audible through them and to Apple through them. So, if you want to avoid ACX altogether, you can still get on Audible and Apple. So through Findaway Voices. And they publish to Chirp, which is good because I'm interested in what Chirp can do. Because, Chirp's run by BookBub.
Right.
And they do a lot of nice discounting stuff. So, and it's interesting what they're doing. So
I think that I think it was in August, I had the opportunity to talk to somebody from BookBub at a conference, a virtual conference, actually. And we're talking about BookBub deals, and we talked about Chirp, and we also talked about wide versus being exclusive with Amazon, and all these different things that kind of how they base their decisions on who gets a BookBub deal, because a BookBub deal will launch your book fairly quickly. But they suggest that wide's probably better because of the variation in their audiences and who their audiences actually go to for their books. Having an audio on Chirp can help. Audiobooks help in general. And there are all these things, but I got the feeling after listening to them that, I think they're trying to push everything into a wide arena versus being exclusive. And they're trying to, make sure that Chirp is if at some point, I'm sure they hope to be the best, but at least the second best audio book landing place in the world. And I think they can probably pull it off. Yeah. And I think Kobo's actually following in the same suit. I think they have an audio. I think they're starting with an audio book type platform too, aren't they?
Possibly. I know Kobo's doing some expansion. They've already expanded their subscription service.
Yeah.
Into Canada and was it Canada? Yeah, I think it was Canada. Well, because they started over in the Netherlands and another country over in Europe, and now they're expanding into North America.
Yeah. Well, like for me, if I really want to get into Canada with my books, I really have to go through Kobo because Amazon's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. But I have found that actually doing the Amazon ads in Canada, because they're available in Canada now, finally.
Yeah.
Has actually helped my Amazon Canada sales a little bit.
Has it really?
Yeah. I mean, not a lot, but I mean, yeah, I've gotten some. I actually managed to get on the #1 Arthurian books with this one in Canada.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you're a bestseller.
Well, in Canada, and I didn't get a little tag, but but I did hit #1 in Arthurian fantasy, and was it urban dark fantasy in Canada.
Dark fantasy?
Yes.
Wow.
And it took me 3 book sales to get into Arthurian fantasy in Canada.
Cheers.
Yeah. So yeah, the market is small there.
Well, I'll have to switch to Canada. I look at my dark fantasy in the US, and it's just like Stephen King and Dean Koontz and all these other people ahead of me. And it's like, yeah, I'll never beat them, but whatever.
Yeah. The American market, as far as categories, some of them are very weird. I mean, Arthurian fantasy, you look at Arthurian fantasy in ebook, and there's practically no actual Arthurian legend-based fantasy in Arthurian fantasy.
No, it's probably reverse harem erotica.
No, it's actually
Oh.
more epic fantasy. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
although that, yeah, the reverse harem erotica is everywhere.
Yeah, I think they just go ahead and they publish a book a couple of times and pick all these genres that they
Yeah.
just want to go into. I think they're in Swedish cookbooks too.
Probably, I wouldn't doubt it.
Every time I look at a category, there's like 6 of them in there. It's like, how the hell did you get in here? But whatever.
But yeah, so a lot of the Arthurian fantasy in the ebook category is made up of epic fantasy that has maybe, inspired by sort of,
Yeah.
I would think. Anyway, but if you look in the Arthurian fantasy under books, there you will find the actual Arthurian legends. So go figure. It's like, where am I supposed to be putting this? And this particular series, it's not an urban fantasy, but it's a contemporary modern day fantasy. So I'm not sure where to stick that. I tried doing some ads under paranormal and urban, didn't do a thing.
Huh.
So yeah, so I'm contemporary fantasy. It's doing pretty good in the fairy tales and in myths. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm concentrating it right now. So
I think that there's a lot of books that get miscategorized just because they do well in a certain genre for a while.
yeah.
For some reason they get picked up. I don't know. It's all fun and games, but at the end it's all about sales.
Yeah, but I mean, you do better with the also bots and all that sort of thing with the keywords. Oh, that makes my head spin, all that stuff.
Oh, keywords are easy.
Oh, yeah, finding keywords isn't that hard. It's just compiling them and sorting them and figuring out which ones work better than the other ones. And it's like, yeah, it's like I'd rather be writing.
Have you ever taken Brian Cohen's course?
Oh yeah, 4 times.
4 times?
Mm-hmm.
I think he does a nice job of explaining it.
Oh yeah, he does a nice job. He's the only one that I found that actually made sense to me. So
Yep.
So I've got quite a few ads running right now. So but and they're not costing me a lot, so I'm just keeping them running.
It's the nice thing about his method is that it's economical. Maybe that's a good way of putting it. It's not I wouldn't say it's cheap, but it's economical. He probably has the most economical system for advertising that works.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of impressions and a lot of clicks using his method. I'm still working on getting them to convert.
Yeah.
That's the big issue.
But
it's like, yeah, you clicked on it. Why didn't you buy it?
Well, ever since this whole quarantine thing started, I had a pretty normal 2019. I thought, I had ups and downs and it kind of compared to the year before. And, the ads seemed to be fine going into about March. And then in March, it seems like everybody got click happy. My sales went up, but not proportionally to the amount of ad spend that I had right away, because it seemed like everybody and their dog was clicking on it and then passing the book up instead of, I don't know if it was just the mentality of I need to build up my book list so I can read through this quarantine or what the deal was. But advertising costs around March went nuts and had to slow some things down. But, and I find that 2020 doesn't fit any kind of a pattern that I have documented at all.
No, I had a little bit of an uptick in my sales between April and July, especially my Visions and Nightmares book. And then everything sort of tanked in August, and like they decided, no, we don't want to read horror anymore or something. I don't know.
I had a really good run up until the end of September, and then October got a little October for some reason got wanky. I'm not sure exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, I had the launch in October, so I got a little uptick in that, but yeah, and then the sales sort of leveled off on that book, and then the Visions and Nightmares kicked up again. And then for some reason this week, my Ghosts of the Sea Moon and the trilogy decided somebody wanted that one. I don't know. It's just like it's like I've had 4 books sold on that one in the last 2 days. It's like, why? It's like I'm not barely advertising that one at the moment, and it's like, why? I mean, it was on sale, but that was about the only reason, I guess.
I don't know. You've been at this a lot longer than I have, and you have a lot more books out than I do. But do you find anything kind of cyclical as far as, this book usually gets read in April, this book usually, picks up in October, that kind of stuff, or is it just
I do find that the horror books tend to get picked up a little bit in October because everyone's, Halloween sort of thing. So, you do get a little activity on that. But no, I mean, I don't see any rhyme or reason half the time in the sales. It's like all of a sudden I'm, got the KU reads on the Visions and Nightmares and buys on this and buys on that. And then all of a sudden, boom, somebody buys Fairy Tale Fusion, or boom, somebody buys the poetry book. I'm going, what? How did you find it? I'm not even advertising that one.
They looked at your profile and said, ooh, I want this and this and this.
Yeah. Because, I'm not really advertising the Fairy Tale Fusion because I'm planning on editing that and reworking it a little bit and re-releasing it because I'm working on a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of going to repackage that one next year or the year after, depending on how long it takes me to write that sequel. Because I got this really great idea from my writing group, it's all their fault. The book coming about the fairy godfather.
Okay.
So because the Fairy Tale Fusion is sort of a mashup between fairy tales and detective noir.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another a short story collection, but that's kind of what it is. And there's these little weird news vignettes throughout the book. If you've ever watched Starship Troopers,
yes,
you know those little propaganda bits.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what inspired the little news bits that are in Fairy Tale Fusion. And it's kind of this humorous kind of Shrek parody thing too.
So just out of curiosity, qualifying question, do you like Starship Troopers?
No.
Oh.
I know what they were trying to do with that movie. I do not think they succeeded, except for the little news bites. They are gems. They are golden. They are the only good thing in that movie. I have an opinion on that movie. No, I do not like that movie.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I give them props for what they were trying to do. They were trying to make a parody of kind of a satire. I just think they fell really flat on most of it.
It's kind of become like a cult thing, though. I mean,
yeah, it has.
It flopped when it came out, and I agree. When I first watched it, I'm like, oh, what the hell, really? Okay, it is kind of a parody. I mean, but I do like Michael Ironside.
Yeah, he was good.
I seem to like everything that he's ever in. But the rest of it's kind of like, okay. Yeah. And then a couple of years later, when you start seeing references to movie lines and references, as far as memes go and everything else, it's like, okay, I'll watch it again. And for some reason, the second or third time I watched it, I'm like, I kind of like it. I don't know why. I mean, it's.
Well, I don't hate the movie. I just think it really could have been something, and it just didn't quite live up to its potential.
Yeah, I don't
really
know.
How I feel about it. But it did get me to read the book, which I really enjoyed. So
yeah,
props to that. Yeah, the book's much better.
I haven't read that book, so I'll have to read that.
Yeah, it's an interesting book. I think his take on military fascist government is, I don't know if everyone would like that, but I kind of thought it was an interesting angle to come at it with.
Sure.
And I really actually enjoyed the book quite a bit, but I'm not sure everybody would like it. But
I'm just going to put that in my show notes as far as read this. Unfortunately, today my read list has probably grown by 5 books, so To be read.
Yeah. My read list grows every time I do a show.
Yeah, somebody, oh, have you ever read this? This really influenced me. It's like, no, tell me about it.
Yeah, but not only that, I mean, the people are talking about their books on my show. I'm going, yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I'd like to read that. So like last week I was interviewing Stephen Pearl about his new sci-fi book, Cloning Freedom. And it's going, yeah, I want to read that.
Well, you know who you're in the IFA group.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Indie Fantasy Addicts. I interviewed Christopher Russell this morning about his new book. And I mean, I got to be honest, I haven't picked it up and haven't read it. I mean, he's a bud, so I mean, I'm going to, but as he's describing it, it's like, oh, damn it, he just moved it up on my list. Oh,
Yeah, it's like I picked Lee Murray's book up, her short story collection, after interviewing her.
Yeah.
Grotesque. Yeah, Grotesque. That's the title of it. Anyway, because she was talking about some of the stories, how she wrote a story about Maori mythology, a horror story, and it's going, yeah, that sounds interesting. And her Leonardo da Vinci thing, which I've read that story in it, and that was good.
There are so many good authors out there that probably don't get the amount of recognition that they need or deserve, I guess would be. But there's so many good books and good stories out there that you just, when you talk to them, you're like, holy crap, I don't know why I haven't read that yet. Sorry. And I tend to migrate more towards those than I do, the published authors. Not I shouldn't say published, but the one, the big name authors.
Yeah, the big ones. They have their own publishing machine.
They do. I mean, I kind of stopped reading Patterson and King and everything else, and I'm, finding these authors that have completely unique stories that are just like, oh my God, this is awesome. And it's better than anything that's in the mainstream.
Yeah, about the only two mainstream authors that I still read are Neil Gaiman and Gabrielle Kay.
I take Neil Gaiman out of that whole mix that I just said because I still read him. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, those two authors are on their own level.
Yeah.
He's like those two could write a phone book and I'd still read it. Yeah, it's like, yeah, because I mean, really, Gabrielle Kay. I mean, these books are so good.
Either one of those guys could write just about anything and make it interesting.
But, and I got his autograph last year at HalCon.
Oh, what really, the one thing that truly ticked me off about this year is Neil Gaiman was coming to Madison, Wisconsin. And it was like this quaint little, where he's going to present for like a couple hours and he's going to have like a book signing and, all this stuff. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm actually going to be not only in the same room, but I'll be able to stand in line for hours and actually, see him up close and personal, maybe, who knows. And I bought ridiculous seats, so I could be close to the stage. And it was one of those things where it's just like, holy crap, I cannot wait for this. Yeah, it got canceled. I got a refund.
Yeah, I'm glad that it was last year that the HalCon, that's our local convention, had Guy Gabrielle Kay and Mark Pellegrino was there too, and I got a picture with him.
Yeah.
So as a big Supernatural fan, I was really yeah. I have a picture with Lucifer.
Cool. All right.
So yeah, but I usually don't do that sort of thing either. But I could not pass up those two.
Yeah. Not sure if I would have either if it was fairly local, but I mean.
Yeah, well, it's only 2-hour drive from where I live to Halifax, so.
Yeah.
I went with a friend and she did most of the driving. So she did all the driving.
A friend of mine actually had me convinced to go to Dragon Con, and I held off on buying tickets for 2020. And I just, it was that or 20 books to 50K in Vegas, 20 books in Vegas, and it's like, maybe I'll go to both, maybe I won't or whatever. And so I picked up the 20 books ticket, but I didn't do the Dragon Con. I thought, well, I'm going to kind of wait and see how things, could start hearing about Corona, end of February. And I'm glad I didn't buy those tickets. 20 books, I don't really care. They just got kind of punted to the next year. But, you know, the Dragon Con one, it's like that would have been, if I would have had tickets, it would have been too disappointing.
Yeah.
But, well, we've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes so far.
Doesn't seem that long.
I'm sorry.
I'm having a good time.
I am too. That's the fun of this. I don't know. I have really enjoyed talking to you, Anita. It's been really good, and I hope that your newest book, which is
Past Legends,
The
Camelot Immortals, book 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Again, another one that's got to be in my 2%.
Oh, and Nostradamus shows up in this one too. So just
really,
yes.
Holy!
That's the fun of this, because you can take characters out of history, make them wizards, make them immortal, and they can show up in the books. Yeah, in book 5, Cersei's going to show up in book 5. The Greeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, just so you know, until Friday, if you haven't bought it, I'm not sure exactly how it works in Canada, but Christopher Russell has a sale on right now, $8.95, and you get a signed book, a bookmark, and your choice of character art.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like a 500-page book or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yes. Go out and buy it. Christopher Russell's book looks really, really, really good. And I interviewed him, and it sounds really, really, really good too.
You interviewed him too?
Yeah, he was a good interview.
He is. You know, the problem with interviewing somebody like Christopher is that he's so good at explaining things that I'm sitting there listening instead of actually interviewing him. And it's like, you know, and then he stops and it's like, oh shit, I should probably ask something. But
yeah,
you know,
I like those interviews because I don't have to do any work.
It's
like I ask the question, let them answer. Yes, and I nod wisely. Yes, very interesting.
Yeah, it was, this morning was one of those things where I'm kind of listening to him and I'm like, okay, describe your magic system. And it's like, he's describing, it's like, holy shit, that's brilliant. I love it. And I love the way he developed his world and how he can take all these different tangents. And it's like, oh my gosh, my mind's just going. And all of a sudden he pauses. It's like, oh shit, I should probably ask a question. Never mind.
Yeah.
But
I've got a little list of questions, so I'm good with the questions. I just wait till they're done and then ask the next one.
I shoot from the hip, so yeah, we'll see what happens. But Anita, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. If you know, hopefully we do it again.
Yeah, hopefully it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, with that, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. This is Jeff with the DIY Writer podcast. And if you wouldn't mind, follow me on any kind of medium that you're listening to your podcast on, Podbean or iTunes or whatever. And if you wouldn't mind, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can see our smiling faces as we discuss whatever the heck it is we discuss. Anyway, with that, I'm going to tell you all, have a great day and keep your chin up. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Please hit the subscribe button. I get a bonus for every subscriber and I only need 1,506 more to become a full-time paid employee. Help me please.